The beauty of Michigan really is up north, in my opinion, and that's what the Conservancy is really all about, is trying to preserve those lands for future generations. And, you know, when you preserve land, you're not just making beauty. There's scientific evidence to show that, you know, these vacant properties have ecological value. I mean, they're producing wildlife that goes from one property to another. They're controlling erosion. They're keeping rivers and lakes clean. They're producing oxygen with all the vegetation on them. So it's not just beauty. There's a lot of scientific value of open lands. All you have to do is look at a plat map from, say, 1970, especially in this country here, to a plat map and compare it to one today, and you can see the subdivisions that have occurred.
What we have now is a 25-acre parcel with a little over 1,000 feet that will never see the developer's eye, and will stay in my family, I'm quite confident, for multiple generations to come.
Hi, my name is Jim Gregart, and this is my wife Linda, and we're the owners of Big Paw Wildlife Conservancy. Why a conservancy? Well, Linda, why don't you explain what this land means to you and where it all started?
I was born on this property. My family owned a resort, a very nice resort, and so I spent all my childhood just in this beautiful area.
If I have a piece of land and I value it, I value its beauty, I'm glad I own it, I utilize it. If I wanted to subdivide it and make a whole bunch of money, you know, I could do that. But if I don't want to do that, why would I sell it and let somebody else do that? You know, and when you look at a conservation easement, it's a voluntary agreement between the nonprofit, in this case Headwaters Land Conservancy, and a landowner, and you're only giving up two things. You're giving up the right to subdivide it, but you can have building envelopes on it as long as it doesn't reduce the conservation value. And you give up the right to develop it. That is, you can't have a huge gravel pit or a big oil and gas field on it. So, but you can continue to use it, you can hunt on it, you can harvest wood, you can sell it, you can pass it on to your kids. And when people ask me, well, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to put it in the conservation easement? I know my kids will never develop it. Well, I don't never say never. This is a way of speaking from the grave.
Well, I've seen, you know, there's a 2,000 house subdivision up here just north of here now that was all 2 tracks when I was a kid. You know, so it's built up big. It gives me a way to at least somewhat control what'll happen to it, you know. It's not gonna become a subdivision. And that's what, you know, that's important to me. I grew up here. You know, when I look at this field, I can see things that happened here 50 years ago. You know, so it's got all my roots and everything here. You know.
Yeah.
So it's more than just a field, you know.
I think the thing that's most important to me is that what we do here at Headwaters is forever. This is not a day-to-day, week-to-week thing. When we preserve, when we take on the responsibility of preserving an easement, it's forever. It's a perpetual challenge, but at the same time rewarding when we each, many of us on the board, get to go out and monitor these easements each year and get to experience new and interesting easements.
This area has been a hotbed of conservation for many, many, many years. The original owner, William B. Mershon, who of course took it over as a cut-over pine area, and it was a moonscape when he purchased it. And he was very, very big in conservation and in reforesting land. And what you see here on the property, or at least about half of the acreage, is planted pine, both red and white, that were done in the 1915 to 1920 bracket, and are now in the 80 to 90 foot in height, and a lot of them at 3 feet in diameter.
And when we talk about in perpetuity and protecting land forever, that's exactly what it means. And it will far outlive me and my children and my children's children, the work that we do. And there's nothing else that I know of that has such a long-lasting effect on keeping land together and conserving and preserving the most beautiful things that Northeast Michigan has to offer. And if you live in Northeast Michigan, you realize the abundance of all of the wild things that are still here. And you realize that it won't last forever without our help. And that's why I love what I do.
One of the important aspects of the Big Paw Wildlife Conservancy is the partnership we have with Headwaters. Headwaters will exist as long as this land does, and Headwaters will ensure that the land is never developed or spoiled, the trees cut. There will be no logging, there will be no housing developments. It will stay natural, the way that God intended it. There are a lot of people who would pay a small fortune to be able to buy some of our land on the beach, but our land on the beach and behind it is not for sale. It's only for protection in perpetuity.
I was talking about some of the values of open lands, and there's certainly, like I said, scientific values, but for me it's a passion. I worked for the Michigan Department of Natural Resources for 26 years, and from day one I was always interested in wildlife and habitat, and so this was a natural segue for me when I retired, is to come into an organization like this, which also protected lands. So it's been a passion all my life.
How long have you been involved with Headwaters Land Conservancy?
Oh gosh, probably about 15 years. I've been on the board. I was chairman of the board for quite a number of years.
I have probably enjoyed most is exposing our grandkids to the up north experience. They live down in near major cities, and the concept of these trees and water and air up here is something that I really enjoy sharing with them, and it's fun to see their eyes light up when they experience something new, some new animal, some new plant. It's really satisfying to me.